Hey, good morning. Happy Saturday morning. This is kind of a test. We're working on the process of live streaming, and I'm hoping to be able to create a series of live stream connections with you so we can share information. This is all about Dream Job Dynamic. This is my passion project, my Pay It Forward passion project, where I share with you what I've learned in my first 40 years thinking like a boss. I define myself or describe myself as a bilingual boomer boss. My name is David, and I am the creator of, the writer of, the podcaster in the Dream Job Dynamic platform. And what I'm bringing to the table is a shortcut, basically, to refine the process that you can use to discover, first of all, to define your dream job, to locate those opportunities that are available right this minute, and to land the job. And we break it down in 7 simple steps to make it the most streamlined process possible. What I know for certain is that 80%, the experts tell us, of all job seekers have never had a dream job, don't know how to find one, simply because they use an old process or no process at all to search for a dream job. They don't define the job in the beginning. They don't know what they're looking for. They believe that a generic resume, a one-size-fits-all resume, will do the trick, and they mass produce that, send it out on a job board, sit back home, cross their fingers, and wait to be selected. What I would suggest to you is that there is a process that you can do that will make it easier to find the jobs and to present yourself in a manner that no one else is doing. And so you'll be more effective in the process. So today, just briefly, I want to walk through the 7 simple steps because I've had that question most frequently, is what are the steps and what does it take? First of all, step number 1 is defining your why. And we hear that in marketing all the time. Being able to, first of all, for your own information, to say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is why I do it. And once you have that information, you can take a look back first in developing the answer to your why, where you've been, what you've done, what are you doing now, what would you like to do in the future, what have you done in the past that you enjoyed or not. And do you want to continue doing that? Do you want to ramp things up? Do you want to ease off the gas a little bit? Maybe you're at the end of the career. As, for example, I'm 69 years old. I have my dream job, and I still have a 20-year plan because I'm enjoying it thoroughly. But someday, I may want to ease off and take my foot off the gas a little bit and do something differently. Right now, not the case. And you may also, for yourself, care to shift gears and shift into a totally different direction. I'll show you how to find those opportunities. So once you have done that, that means defining your why. So you can say, for your own information, who you are, what you do, why you do it, and then to explain to your future dream job boss, number 4, why they should care. What is it you bring to the table that is important, that is critical, that is what they're looking for? And in many cases, not all, but in many cases they will promote their jobs with a job description, and you can take the information from their job description, insert that into your why, and see if it fits. You can go there one step further, and I'll show you how to look at their profiles, specifically LinkedIn for their corporate profile, LinkedIn for the individuals within the company, and on the internet, on their websites. They're going to be telling you their why, what's important to them, what they want you to know, what they're looking for specifically. And then you can decide, is it a match? Do you really want to be involved with that operation? Do you want to work for those people? If so, consider offering them the opportunity to invite you to an interview. So we'll work on that process as we go. So once you've defined it and you've decided, okay, I may be interested in this organization, you need to be able to introduce yourself. And it's kind of like the dating process. You're two strangers coming together. You don't know anything about them. They don't know anything about you. And we want to decide if we're compatible. So first of all, you'll introduce yourself. And I'm going to tell you right now, many people skip this process. A letter of introduction is critical. It is beneficial. It's essential. And yes, there are reasons why you need one. I will share those in a future discussion. But here's the short version. If an employer is looking for a letter of introduction and you have one, you're golden. If they're looking for one and you don't have one, you're out of the game. And if you have one and they don't care, no harm, no foul. So that's 2 out of 3 that are good. And in each case, all of those cases, having one is better. Also, if you're submitting your job application, your presentation, your package to a job board, for example, those computerized applicant tracking systems can read. That's what they do. And they're searching for keywords, and they will sort through your letter of introduction, your resume, your LinkedIn profile to find the keywords they're looking for. So yes, even if you're sending it to a computer, a letter of introduction has its benefit. And we'll talk about how to build one of those. Stepping it up one step further, step number 3, I call your secret sauce, and it is something I promise none of your fellow seekers will use this process. I have used it myself successfully to great advantage, and I've shared it with many others who have done the same, and it works wonderfully. We are in the age of the internet, the age of social media. And the reason I mention that is I'm not saying that we're posting your profile and your resume to the internet, but in reality we kind of are. The key factor as we come into the process, and we'll talk about it in step number 4, is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a computerized social media package, and it is designed to connect employers with employees, customers with vendors. It's just the way the process works, and 97% of all employers will check out your LinkedIn profile before they make a hiring decision. That's how they can find them. That's how you can find them. We'll get into that in just a minute. But the point is, thinking of LinkedIn as social media, here's an example from Facebook. They are telling us now, just recently, over the last year or so, they said, guess what? People on Facebook respond positively to video. So here's the new rule. On Facebook, if you don't have a video in your presentation, when you post something, then very, very few people are going to ever see it. You might have 1,000 connections, 1,000 friends, but without a video in your commentaries, very few, maybe a handful, 3% maximum, are going to see it. They also tell us that if you have a video, they are going to show it to more people. That works on Facebook, that works on Twitter, Instagram, obviously. There's all of the social media that use video. LinkedIn is one of them. So what I'm suggesting is a short video of possibly 2 minutes, even less, will be beneficial. And if you use that, I'll show you how to record it on your phone, a perfectly professional video. I'll give you the connection, if you don't have it already, for an application that will give you a teleprompter on your phone so that you can type out your conversation, your introduction. You can practice it so that you can read it without sounding like you're reading it, and then you can record it on your phone while reading the text, comfortably presenting yourself in your own happy face and your own happy voice, so that they can learn to know you, like you, and trust you before they've met you. Now think about that, because if you have, first of all, the logic. If you put a link, I'll show you how to put a link for your video at the very top of your letter of introduction. And it'll be a hot link, so that when they come to it, it's probably going to be the first hot link they've seen in a long time. And they'll click on it, and they will spend probably the entire 1 to 2 minutes reading or listening to your video. If you don't have one, the time spent by a screener looking at your letter of introduction is 10 to 15 seconds. And they'll use that to look for the keywords that they're looking for. If you have them, you may be in. If you don't have them, you're out of the game. So let's talk about that when we get to step number 3. I'll cover it in detail, both in conversation on the Facebook group and in the podcast as well. So that is my favorite spot. That's the secret sauce. More importantly, now that we're organized, we know who you are, what you do, why do you want to do it, where you're going, and you can introduce yourself. It's time to present yourself in your resume. Step number 4, broken down into 2 parts. Your resume to remember and your LinkedIn profile. So let's call it 4.1 and 4.2. So 4.1, your resume, is where you can present yourself and explain not what you've done every day. Please don't give them a laundry list of your daily routine. If they're looking for a carpenter, for example, in my case, in the construction industry, if I'm looking for a carpenter, I know what a carpenter does. So please don't waste the time and space to tell me what you did every day. Trust me, if you're not a carpenter, when you get to the interview, we'll figure that out. So my suggestion is, with the best way to introduce yourself in your resume is to tell them what you have accomplished. Action words. I have saved, I have developed, I have created, I established, I fixed, I resolved. Action words, and what you accomplished while you were doing it, not what you did every day, because they already can surmise what you did based on your job description. So that's my suggestion for the first part of your resume, and we'll talk about in detail how to present yourself so that you get the maximum mileage out of that. Basically, also one thing critical, in most cases a resume should be less than 1 page. 1 page max. More than 1 page, unless you're a doctor with 47 degrees and lots of business experience, for example, more than 1 page is too much information. Back on the letter of introduction, they spend 10 to 15 seconds. On your resume, on a good day, they'll spend 20, maybe 30 seconds to decide if you need to go to the next level, which hopefully will be to a first interview. Now, if you've done on the previous step, you did the secret sauce, then we may be talking about technically your second interview. So that's something we can go into great deal, and I will show you how it has worked for the people that I work with for the presentation of your resume. 4.2 is the biggie. 4.2 is your LinkedIn profile. Yes, you need to have one. 97%, one more time, 90% of all employers will look at your LinkedIn profile before they make a decision. Before, during, or after your interview, they will still go back and review your LinkedIn profile. Now, in your profile, where in your resume you're limited to 1 page and minimal information, in your profile it is unlimited, and they expect to have the Technicolor multimedia full-sized version of your life history. You can talk about your history, your personality, your passion projects, your past, your present, your future, your connections. You can join groups and connect with professionals in your industry. The key with LinkedIn is when you optimize it to all-star status, which means you fill in the specific requirements that LinkedIn requires, the algorithm requires. Once you've hit all-star status, your profile will be more highly visible than 80% of all of the other users on the planet. That's 800 million users who are actively, let's take that back. They're not actively all of them, but 800 million users, and a good 50% of those are active. Most employers have a LinkedIn profile, and as I said, all of them are going to be looking at your profile before they make a decision. So we'll talk about that in great detail. For example, on a LinkedIn profile, if you have a photograph, a happy, professional-looking, smiling headshot on your profile, LinkedIn tells you that you will receive 14 times more notice. They will show it to 14 times more people than your friend who doesn't have a picture. If you get to all-star status in their perspective, they're going to show your profile to 40 times more people than anyone on a lower status. So it's very critical. LinkedIn is the key because you can discover and to be discovered. It will help you to find the jobs that are hidden in plain sight. I didn't mention before, most people with their job search process, most of your fellow seekers are going to commit 100% of their search to the use of a job board. Interesting, because 80% of all job seekers use the job board as their only source. However, flip that around, 80% of all the jobs that are available, never posted, never advertised, never involved in a search on a job board. So how do you find the other 80% of all the jobs that are hidden in plain sight? LinkedIn is the tool that we need to maximize, to optimize. When you are optimized in LinkedIn, as I said, it helps you to discover those jobs because you can search for specifically what you're looking for. I want to do this job in this industry, in this location. If you know a company name, you might say, tell me all the company, in my case, for example. LinkedIn, tell me, like talking to Siri, tell me all of the concrete construction companies in Miami Beach, Florida. Boom. It's going to list all of them. Then you can pick some. You can see where they're located. You can dive even deeper. You can look at each individual company's profile. You can say, LinkedIn, show me all the employees at company X. It will show you all the employees who happen to have profiles. Wouldn't it be nice if, say, the sales manager or the head of construction or the marketing person or whatever job you're looking for, they're listed in there. You can go into their profile and learn all about them. Then you can address a personalized letter with their email address, with your contact information, with your presentation that we've already built, and send it to them personally and address the areas in which they are already demonstrating an interest. You can also connect with them on LinkedIn, and you can go in and start conversations with them just as a professional with common interests. And then you can approach them down the line for information about positions that may not be posted. Anyway, there are thousands of opportunities that you can use LinkedIn for. Most importantly, besides the fact that you can find the jobs, more importantly, you can be discovered. You can discover your positions and you can be discovered by employers. I will tell you right now that I have my profile listed, the privacy settings saying, I'm not interested, I'm not looking, don't send me any job offers. Don't want one, I have one. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Even though I have listed it that way, I still have 100 or more people search my profile every single week. Every week. That's 400 a month. That's a whole bunch. That's 500 plus a year of people that are in positions that could be hiring, that even though I say I'm not interested, they may just send me a note and say, hey, I know you're not interested, but would you be interested? It's not a bad thing to be considered. And you might find someone with an offer that tickles your fancy, and so connections can be made. So that is the short version of 4.1, your resume to remember, and 4.2, your LinkedIn profile, all star rated. Now the the next two steps are critical to the application of all this information. Number 5 is your laser focused search. And as I said before, most people will do one of two ways. They'll do a shotgun search. They'll put a generic resume, a one-size-fits-all resume, send it out to everybody, and then sit back and hope to be discovered. Or they'll join they'll submit their information to a job board, and then again, sit back, cross their fingers, and hope to be selected. There are ways that you can maximize your potential using the information that we've already put together. Maximize your potential on those job boards, and I'll show you how to use that information, and then also find a backdoor. If they're advertising a job, that means they have a job. Doesn't mean you have to stand in line with 1,000 other people. You can certainly enter that process, and I'll show you how to optimize the results on a job search through their applicant tracking system. But let's talk about ways to get into that company to find out who's inside, who's behind the door, who's making the decisions, and how to find them and connect with them. There's no reason. And if the front door doesn't work, we'll go around to the back door. If the back doesn't work, we'll crawl in a window. But there are many, many ways to make connections. And think of it. Don't think of yourself as desperate. I need a job. Oh my God, what am I going to do? First of all, they have the problem. They have an operation that is lacking a key individual. They're looking. They would hire you right this minute if they could find you on the cases where you are the appropriate match. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of appropriate matches out there that would hire you, as I say, now. They are looking. So they had the problem, you be the solution. That's all that we're working on right now. When it gets to acing the interview, again, most people don't use the information that they'll find on LinkedIn, on the internet, on research in general, on connections. And so they go in with the idea that the interview is kind of like a pass, no pass, an inquisition, a final examination. I would like to change your perspective so that when you go into an interview, it's exciting. It's a couple of professionals with common interests having a conversation. So changing from an inquisition to a conversation, I want you to go loaded with questions too. It's a conversation. And if you can go in prepared with information that you know, again, who they are, what they do, why they do it, and you can ask questions about those things, you know at the end of the conversation they're going to say, and is there anything you'd like to ask us? Well, how about if you ask questions throughout the conversation? If they asked you this and you say, yes, here's my perspective on that. I had a question, if you don't mind. Can you tell me what is happening with your organization in the future? Are you doing this? Are you continuing to do that? What are your plans or your blah, blah, blah? Anyway, specifically, if you have questions about their operation, then we're going to go, oh, yeah, obviously you've done some research. And what do people like to talk about? Themselves. So, if you can get them talking about themselves, that's always my gauge on an interview situation. The more talking they're doing, the better I'm doing in the process. So, just a gauge. But I hope that you will go to an interview prepared to ask questions based on information. Don't go in blindly. Go in prepared to sell yourself for the position. Now, once you've aced the interview, and you will, most people are going to figure that's the end of the game. They'll go home, and again, they're going to sit with their fingers crossed and wait to be discovered or wait to be selected. I will suggest that there's one more step, and I call it sealing the deal. I've used it myself, and I have shared it with many others who have had similar results. My suggestion is writing a follow-up letter. Of course, many people write a thank you note. But my suggestion is, in that note, to write it in advance, first of all. Before you go in, after you've already studied, write the thank you note, assuming that you've gotten the opportunity to be considered. And in addition to what you know about the company from your research, include key point talking points. Come back after the interview and edit it by adding key talking points, comments that Fred might have said or Susie might have said, or things about their terminology that you can throw into the conversation that says, yes, I was just here and this is what we talked about. Remember me? And then a short action list, a hit the ground running list of what would you do if you were selected. What would you do on day one, given the opportunity to join this company and start hitting the ground running, as I said. I'll tell you, for example, one time I did that in my past. Is one of my favorite applications. It's probably 20 years ago. But I was applying for a position with a construction company, and the president hired me, brought me in on day one, and said there were three applicants that could have done this job equally well. All of them would have done fine. He said, you want to know why I hired you? And he held up my letter of introduction and smiled, because I had written a plan that said, I'm going to meet these people, I'm going to study these details, I'm going to do this, this, and this to learn all about you, and then I'm going to go like crazy and expand my knowledge. So, it works, and it's more than the average applicant will consider doing. Also, when you do it, first of all, just curiously, if you prepare the letter in advance, you take a short time right after the interview to edit it and to fine-tune it, and you send it maybe an hour or two after. First of all, they're going to say, wait a minute, that person wrote this in advance. And they'll go, oh, they were thinking out of the box. They were confident. They were thinking ahead. They already knew about us, and they hadn't even been here yet. And they made some great points. And look at the action plan. Boom. That's all. Welcome to your new position. So that is my not really short summary of the 7 simple steps. We go into greater detail in the podcast. You'll find it Dream Job Dynamic. First of all, go to the website, because I hope you'll take a look right over here. There's a book that's coming out, but there's a short version called the Quick Start Guide that summarizes those 7 steps and reminds you of what some of the key points are. And if you read through that, you could probably read it in half an hour. You may not need any further help. It may answer all of your questions and give you direction on how to go. If you need more assistance, stop by that website to connect with me. You can find me with an email. I am available. Again, this costs nothing. I'm here and I'm willing and I'm excited to help you. Drop me an email and say, this is my problem. These are my challenges. Any ideas? You've been doing this for 40 years, you old geezer. What do you know about this? So, David at DreamJobDynamic.com. On social, everywhere, at DreamJobDynamic. Old guy, but connected. And then if you have an opportunity, just reach out to me and send me your resume, for example. If you're already done, if you've gone through those 7 simple steps, and don't skip any. My suggestion is go through the steps. If you've accomplished one, check it off, give yourself a high five, go to the next one. They are logical, they work you through the process, and when you're done, you are going to be stellar. You will have an amazing operation. People will find you, they will be amazed by you, and you will have choices. And that's what I want for you. The choice to find your personally perfect dream job. So let's talk about it. And if anything I can do to help you, reach out to me. I am here. Once again, Dream Job Discovery. It takes very little time once you follow the steps. It doesn't cost a dime. And the bottom line, you can do it yourself, but you do not have to do it alone. I got your back. Thanks a lot, and I will talk to you next time. soon as I can figure out where the button is, I'll turn this thing off.